all living organisms are made up of molecules that are mostly one of 4 different atoms. These atoms are oxygen, carbon, hydrogen, and nitrogen. And when we get to chapter 3 and throughout the semester, we're going to find that our biologically important molecules, our carbohydrates, our lipids, our proteins, and our nucleic acids are made up of mostly oxygen, carbon, hydrogen, and nitrogen. In fact, those 4 atoms make up approximately 95% of the mass of living things. Now, hydrogen and oxygen are usually found in water or as oxygen gas in the air. Both of those are vitally important for living organisms and for proper function of living cells. Nitrogen is also really important. We find that in soil, we find that in the air, we breathe it in along with oxygen. And nitrogen is probably the least known of these 3, at least for students coming into biology, but nitrogen is really important in protein. In fact, the backbone of all proteins are carbon and nitrogen. And then carbon, you all know carbon. Most of you are familiar with this in the form of carbon dioxide or carbohydrates, where we get a lot of our energy. But there's also a lot of carbon in our fats, where we store energy, and also in our proteins and nucleic acids. So it's found in as the backbone of all our biological molecules, but it's most commonly found in carbohydrates. Again, it's going to be also the backbone of our lipids, which are our fats and steroids, our proteins, and our nucleic acids like DNA. Now, there's some other atoms that are required in less high frequency, but they are required nonetheless. These are either called mineral elements that are found in less than 1% of our molecules, or trace elements that are found in less than 0.01%. Now, what that means is that they are vitally important. They are required for normal function of living cells, but we just don't require them in the amounts that we require oxygen, carbon, hydrogen, and nitrogen. So when we get to our biological molecules, we'll find that those 4 atoms are key to the structure of those molecules. Many of these other mineral and trace elements we'll talk about. We won't necessarily go into great detail in all of these, but there are a few that you're probably familiar with, like calcium for bone health. Sodium is in our diet quite frequently. That's salt. So many of these you've probably heard of. We'll talk about how they affect living organisms. We'll talk about the ones that are required for different cell functions, but we won't talk about all of them. Our main focus is actually going to be on carbon and how it works as the backbone for our important biological molecules.